Let's not glom on to this idea that any person's supposed to be permanently any way. We are all in every moment able to change what we are and change our focus and change what's happening. And your ability to get better at that is what really makes you probably more consistently heroic and just a better, happier, more productive, more useful and helpful human being.
Are you listening?
This is the Rob Scott Show.
Damn.
I mean, really, like, if we're not trying to change the world, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Rob Scott Show. This is Rob, and I'm here with Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, how are you, Rob?
I'm good. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I think we could kick off the year talking about heroes. Do you want to talk about heroes today?
I do want to talk about heroes. Yeah, let's do. Yeah, it's good because I think we all want to be, at least our own personal heroes. And it wouldn't be bad to talk about. We put out a meme recently about heroes, and there's a little bit of that I want to talk about. And I think we have some other stuff. And you and I were personally talking about victims and what's going on there. Can you explain what you said to me before about victims?
Yeah, so I thought it would be an interesting topic today to kind of dive into the idea that there's two things going on. One, we are often encouraged in society and in the books we read and the movies we watch and the shows that we stream to go on this hero's journey, right? And we kind of all fall in love with the idea of a hero's journey. We root for the hero. And then the other thing that's also kind of going on simultaneously is the idea that we're kind of living in a culture, at least in my opinion, of victimhood, where there's a lot of validation for not playing the hero, right?
Yeah.
For playing the victim or getting attention for things outside of any kind of heroic goals. And so just looking at those two ideas and seeing if there's crossover or if there's a relationship at all.
Yeah, I love that. So Joseph Campbell has this hero's journey thing. It's the basis of almost any interesting story. It's sort of the heart of the human travel where, it's really only interesting if we have this subject in our own lives. It's us, but in a movie, it's the hero. And we watch them, come across a challenge, and then how do they overcome that challenge? And that's what actually makes an interesting story for the most part. And whether the end is some love that they've found or they've overcome something personally or whatever's going on, that is the heroic journey that we're all doing. And I think it's really interesting to think about the victimhood thing. I've often talked about how when I had a much more unconscious victim mindset going on, I was getting a lot of points. I was getting a lot of attention for this hard life that I'd had. And so saying poor me got a whole lot of attention, right? It got, oh, you poor thing. And wow, aren't you tough? And all these different things that allowed me to keep fostering this victim thing. And I think it's interesting that you talk about our culture and how we might be doing that. We're a little bit in an age where there's a lot of outrage going on, a lot of people getting offended at different, ideas and comedians and politics and all the stuff. And so we are, I don't know. It depends on what culture we're talking about and all those things. I mean, it's a little bit more complex when we start talking about culturally, but I think there is this kind of payoff for how loudly you can yell what a victim you are. And then I think that challenges us into not maybe living into our best lives in some way. And so I think that's really, really interesting. And then the idea that I'll throw into the pile here is what we sort of posted in a meme recently. And I think it's basically saying, I remember somebody saying to me, why do heroes always fall? Like the Lance Armstrong is a big example, right? We have this very popular guy who won all these Tour de France, events, and then we find that he's cheating and lying and doing all these things. And why do heroes always fall? And what I want to point out is that hero is not a permanent thing, right? Hero is a moment. It's an event. We can be heroic in a moment, but what we really are is we're human. Underneath that, we're actually consciousness. And so at some times we may be called to be heroic, but we may be called to be, not heroic or cowardly or we end up showing up in all these different ways. And so what I would love people to do is not think because they've failed in any given moment, oh, I'm no longer the hero that I hoped I was or whatever. Just realize that we all have our moments when maybe we're strong and we can do whatever. And so that allows us the space that in any moment we can choose, is there something here where I want to see if I can be heroic, if there's a way that I can show up and participate heroically in my own life or for other people or whatever that is.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. And I think just like a little bit of a side tangent, but I promise I'll relate it. I was at a baby shower yesterday, and we were all kind of going around and talking about different like positive advice or like just kind of encouragement for the baby. And they get to me and I'm like, the world is a complex, dark place. And I thought I was being really inspiring, right? I like said all these other nice things, and I'm like, the parents are kind of guiding lights to you. And then like I stopped, and everyone's kind of like, and I didn't mean it in a negative downer way. It's truly, I do truly believe that we live in a time that's in a world that's complex. And I think it's a lot, we've talked about the passing of information and technology, but this whole kind of the pressure to define yourself. I think what's beautiful about our world is you can we are more accepting, I think, than we've been of a lot of things, good, for better or worse. But it's also like, it kind of leaves you kind of sometimes feeling, who am I, right? And so I know one of the things that we really dive into is identity, and really kind of like finding and building and changing identities. And when I think about the kind of pressure to both I want to live out that hero's journey and that fairy tale that, stand at the hill and be like, I did it. And then also be like, there's true validation when there's chaos and crisis, right? We shout it on social media and everyone chimes in. And there really is like this attention, this quick hit attention that comes from being victim. And what we've been really working on last year and what we're really focused on this year is kind of sourcing joy, right? So I thought about those two things and what's the cut through there to source joy. And it's really like the management of being good at the internal game, which is what we teach and what our programs do. But that's the way to win through, to me, the complexity of the world, whatever it looks like at whatever time period.
Yeah.
Because both are true, right? You want to be a hero, and you do sometimes get validated when you're in crisis or when things are going wrong, or you're shouting an opinion loudly on social media. Like people aren't going to stop paying attention to that. And they're not going to stop wanting to be heroes. But like, when you look at those two things, you're like, how do I be both? And sometimes I think that puts us in a position where we feel so much pressure but don't know how to be what we're supposed to be.
Well, there's so much there. That's so much there. That's amazing.
Sorry.
No, it's great. It's really great. What's funny is, here's how complex it is. We just said that we're living in a victim kind of outrage, culture, or maybe I said that. And then you said, which is also true, we're maybe more accepting than we've ever been in our life. So if it's not complex, how can that be true, right? We're either in outrage at other people, which is not very accepting, or we're incredibly accepting. And depending on in what direction you're looking or who you're talking about, both of those are true. And so it's incredibly complex. And so I think what I want to do is I want to wake up people's consciousness and help people evolve into that complexity in a way that allows them to be confident, happy, sourcing joy, resilient, capable, etc., in the face of this incredible complexity. And I think that historically, there is a time where we really liked saying, I know what this means. This is easy. I've got this under control. And what we're finding out is that there's less and less control as we get older and we get honest about things. Even the adults really aren't quite sure what's going on, right? When we were children, we really thought all the adults knew. Well, they know what's going on. One day I'll be an adult and I'll know what's going on. As we become adults, we realize, nobody's really sure what's going on. We're all kind of making it up, and it's complex and weird. And so that can be horrifying for people that are alone and scared and feeling overwhelmed and not sure what to do next. And so I love this call to the inner game, where that is where you can find ground and home in this moment, right? Outside of story, outside of labels of hero or not hero, etc., and come into, okay, I'm awareness at its core. Here I am again in this moment. what's most important, where can I put my attention that really serves me, how can I do whatever's most important in this moment, and how can I connect to joy and meaning and purpose from that place. And as you gain that skill, you become incredibly resilient and happy and connected and effective and all these other things that are fantastic. If we're not in that place, if we're really content to label and then be very offended when somebody's not heroic anymore, or if we think this is a thing and we're not open to the complexity of it, we're going to be really disappointed. And we're going to find that that complexity becomes a huge bother that is overwhelming and upsetting and makes us go, oh no, don't talk about the dark place. It's just scary to mention,
Yeah. And I mean, with the advancement of technology and how fast things are going and what we're creating and innovating and how we're changing the model of what families look like and what work looks like. And it's only, in my opinion, and again, I don't know, maybe everyone like at the baby shower is going to be like, wow, that's darkness. But I think it will continue to get more complex, which is why I personally am very invested in kind of what we're doing in your business, but also on a side note, I think I would be into it whether, I was on your team or not, because that ability to kind of decipher through, and we've talked on this on every podcast episode, but our belief in our meaning making and kind of holding paradoxes of, the world is complex and that's okay. Like, to me, again, I didn't think of that as a dark statement because I don't think that's a bad thing or a good thing. It was just, to me, it is. There's all these different versions of truth happening and it's complex. But I think we're going to continue redefining things, which I think is, again, in the paradox, both exciting and also overwhelming, can be difficult if we can't win at things like managing our emotions, sourcing our happiness, navigating, truth, holding paradoxes. Like all that is going to be like the new, to me, you talk about like conscious humans and a tribe of conscious humans. To me, that's what that means, right? Is that's our new survival skills. It's not hunter gatherer. Where's the food? Where's the resources? It's like, can we manage? Can we not lose our minds?
Totally.
Can we be grounded? Can we use all these other tools to kind of survive in the world that we're living in?
I love that. And so one of the things I've been saying lately is that to a great degree, and there are examples where this isn't true at all, but to a great degree, certainly in this culture here, we've solved the survival problems that, long ago we didn't have nailed, right? Surviving was much more difficult back in the day. Now you could literally live out of the trash in a metropolitan city if you wanted to. There's not a lot of, and I don't have stats on this, but I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of homeless people dying of starvation in America, let's say, right? Just to put it that way. So in certain places on planet Earth, we have figured out survival, right? And our fight against the impulses of survival is a lot of where our craziness comes up, our unhappiness, that the systems that get misaligned. And I love your point that the new survival thing is really a self-managing of our own mind, right? Our own mind, our own emotional stability. Again, everything that we're talking about, resilience, all that stuff. And not to force the topic back, but I mean, that's really what becomes heroic, right? That's what becomes in the moment. How, if you're really good at that, in any moment, you can be the person that the situation needs for yourself and potentially for others. And I keep having this thought, so I just want to say it. Maybe everybody doesn't want to be a hero. It's not that we're all definitely trying to be the hero to other people all the time. I mean, that's something that I aspire to be heroic, and I want to help people. And that may be interesting to most people, but some people just may not want to do that, but you're still the hero of your own story. And so what is the evolution in your hero's journey for yourself, in this moment? Like, what are you facing right now that would be really heroic to get over? And, so I didn't want to just say like everybody wants to be a hero. We're not all trying to go out and be Superman and Superwoman, et cetera. But we are all in whatever the drama is of the moment, and what does it look like to overcome that? What is the goal that you're looking at right now that you'd like to get through? And I
love that distinction, because I also was kind of blowing it out big, like on a soapbox of hero and whatever way to other people, but also this kind of, being a hero for yourself, showing up for yourself, and then also then tagging on the idea of like, do I also carry a victim mindset? When do I give myself more attention? When I'm being my own hero, separate from anything else, or when I'm feeling really like, oh, poor me, and that's unfair, and why is that happening? And I'm like, and that's why I kind of thought like it's an internal game, because that's where it starts. And me personally, I give myself way more attention when I'm feeling like a victim to whatever, or, oh, why didn't I do this? Or I'm being hard on myself, or I'm feeling like everyone's down on me, or life's not fair. And when I'm showing up for myself, I don't often stop and pat myself on the back and say like, wow, you really like celebrate the fact that I showed up for myself.
Yeah.
So like, if we can all do that better internally, like that's kind of what's going to show up in the world, I think. And I could definitely do that better myself.
I wonder, think about the last time or the last few times you went to a restaurant with a family member or a friend, and then think about, and maybe in future visits to a restaurant with a friend, think about what are the topics that you're talking about. Are you talking about things that you're excited about, that you want to create, that you want to go do? Are you celebrating recent wins? Are you focused on what's amazing and positive and sharing that? Or are you, like so many people, going through the complaint chain of how bad this person treated you and how horrible traffic was and how difficult that company is that isn't, paying you what they owe you, and this thing that's late, et cetera, right? Those two things is almost like hero versus victim. Right. And so, in what way are you showing up with your own focus to look at, what's going well, what's working, what you can do? Now, life is challenging and we have to address those problems. So I'm not saying that every conversation is victim mindset if you're talking about problems, especially at work. Sarah and I in work talk about problems quite a bit, and it's not victim mindset. It's just we're facing what's coming up around us. But when I go have lunch with my mother and all I'm doing is complaining, right? I'm trying often to show in that moment, like, hey, Mom, my life's hard right now, like poor me. And I'm basically trying to get an emotional hug. And I'm not even saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying don't do that, right? There are moments to be that also, but how much we habituate that and how much we then leave that being a little bit filled up because we complained, we start to strategize, how can I do that with my partner? How can I do that with my other friend? And all of a sudden we're going through our problems with everybody that we're talking to, like, look at how tough my life is, right? And all of a sudden we've got this big victim mindset that's just getting reinforced. And so now when I go into new situations, that's seeping into my identity. Like, how can I be the victim in this situation? How can, Ticketmaster charges $15 service fee to go to this? Can you believe it? Right? Like on and on and on. I'm looking for kind of what sucks and in what way I got taken advantage of or whatever, because I'm getting a payoff for that narrative. And so, what's the hero in you that can focus on what's important, what needs to be done, how you're showing up? I just started going to hot yoga, which is big for me because I had such a bad back for so long. And I'm loving that the last few days in a row, I've been doing this hot yoga. Immediately, my body's feeling amazing. And for me, that's a little heroic move. I'm in there, and both the first two times, there were moments in there where I was really worried that I was going to have a blowout and have to like crawl out of the room because my back can be that bad. And man, it's a huge deal to go in and sort of face that fear and do it. And so it's amazing to, it can be that simple. It can be just that you went to yoga, and it was a heroic move for you to overcome a little bit of fear and go do that. Right.
Yeah. We're definitely not exclusively talking about like, saving people from burning buildings.
Yeah, you don't have to learn how to fly. Right?
No flight required.
Right, no flight required. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I love that idea of kind of that challenge where you said, think about what your dinner conversation is with a friend or a family. Because I think, just as a tip, in my opinion, that's in trying to put conscious humans around me in my own life. That's how you can tell where someone's at. Yeah. Can they sit and be the emotional hug, or can they sit and celebrate with you? And is both the same? Because I think the key there, to your point, we're not saying that talking about expressing your feelings, talking about your problems, sharing your struggles is a bad thing. It's not. But like, look at the motivation, right? So, why are you saying what you're saying? Are you looking for help? Are you looking for an outcome? Are you looking to say, hey, I just need to share this with somebody? Or are you looking to kind of get, are you playing victim? Are you falling into victim? And another thing that we talk about in the business and the podcast is the awareness. So there's a power in even being aware of your motivations for what you're saying and having that extra kind of detective lens on for what you're doing. And whether that's sharing heroism quietly or loudly or being victim or just looking for support. That's, I think, kind of the challenge too. And I mean, I do this too. It's like, why did I just say that? Or, what are we talking about? Like, do you ever get somewhere and it kind of maybe gets heated or gets serious? And then you're like, wait, what are we even talking about? Like,
How did we get here?
know,
What's
right? Is
right
having
now?
the awareness of what you're doing and what's going on in your brain, in your head, in your, in your belief structure and all of that.
There's two things I want to share about that. So the idea here is metacognition, right? Having thoughts about your thoughts. Yeah, really
thoughts
just
about your thoughts.
Backing up to think about, how am I thinking? And so that may sound hard to do, but it's actually not. You can start to really go like, what was I thinking there, and why was I thinking that, and was there a payoff, et cetera. And we have processes in some of the work that we do in some of our programs. By the way, we have a very cool thing to share with the community, a way to get pretty much everything that we do program wise, product wise, really, really affordably. And we'll tell you about that in just a second. But metacognition is a very important skill, and there are systematic ways where you can gain that ability. Another way to say that, and this is something that specifically in our program Hacking Happy we talk about, is that attention is a place, and your own attention, where it is in any moment, is literally the quality of your consciousness. So if you're focused on something that is incredibly difficult or painful, your emotional state is going to change because that's where your attention is. Your body is going to start giving off different chemicals in response to that. If you're anxious, that can, and you keep focusing on things that make you anxious, that can become a vicious cycle that just worsens and worsens and worsens, and can lead to panic attacks instead of just light anxiety or getting out of feeling fearful at all. And so, when I say attention is a place, there's structured different areas that can be, which is really, really useful to understand, right? If you move your attention to what your feet feel like, then you're not in a panic situation where you're just thinking about being attacked or that something horrible is going to happen to you. If you're thinking about something depressing versus noticing something funny in a movie, right? We're literally moving our attention around all the time. And if you have no skill at doing that, then you're literally a victim to your environment, right? You walk around and any marketing message can just pull your attention, Twitter or Netflix,
the conversations you overhear, the people sitting behind you, the guy, right. How the guy's driving in front of you, like totally. You become a victim.
Yeah.
That's a quick path to becoming a victim.
Exactly. And with the advent of technology and communication and the noise, the amount of choice that we have, this leads to absolute decision fatigue. And we just become more numb and more numb and more numb, and actually more addictive and more addictive and more addictive, because we just end up numbing out to feel better. And we just let our attention go because we haven't really built up the skill of being able to place our attention somewhere that's meaningful, whether that's on a place that makes us feel good and happy and, maybe heroic instead of, like a victim, or whether that's a place that's productive, right? Am I capable of placing my attention in a book and reading for 30 minutes without just being completely scattered, right? Less and less and less of us, because of video and audio and all the different stuff, we're losing that ability. And maybe that's an evolutionary thing. And maybe maybe reading eventually won't be as big a deal as it is today, but it's not really the point that I'm making here. It's that we're not very good, unless we're training it and we understand how to do it, in placing our attention different places. And this is the superpower. It's truly the superpower that allows you to be the two things that we want to do really well: be happy and be productive, right? In our being, we want to be happy and joyful. And in our doing, we want to be productive and effective. And if you can't manage your attention, you're not going to be able to do either of those things. And so anyway, metacognition, right? Seeing how you're thinking is step one to noticing that your attention really is being put in different locations, right? Whether it's in the past or the future or in your body or on a topic, it's moving all around all the time. And to what degree do you manage that becomes really, really, really important.
And kind of the two things we went over to kind of check yourself, right? That's the what and kind of the how. It, like Rob said, next time you're having a conversation around the dinner table with friends or family, check in. Just notice, like what's going on? What are we talking about? And the other one is, I think what I was saying about your own thoughts privately, right, within yourself. So notice that you're celebrating your wins as hard as you're kind of focusing on the things that you feel like are losses or injustices.
Yeah.
And try to balance that out internally before you work on massive things in the world. Because if you can get yourself right, if you can master that metacognition, I really do think you have kind of personal development survival tools 101, and you will evolve far beyond where we're at.
Totally. Which is, I mean, that's the new survival challenge now, right? To our bigger point before. So, we've covered quite a bit here. We went into this kind of this seed of what is it to be a hero. And I want to highlight again that there's no permanent heroes. It's not about that. We have in any moment, there's also no permanent enlightenment. There's no permanent good. There's, we're in this constant thing where in any moment stuff can be complex, and it is complex, and it will be showing up differently. And you'll have good moments, you'll have bad moments, you'll have, cowardly moments and heroic moments and all these things. And so let's not glom on to this idea that any person's supposed to be permanently any way. We are all in every moment able to change what we are and change our focus and change what's happening. And your ability to get better at that is what really makes you probably more consistently heroic and just a better, happier, more productive, more useful and helpful human being. And so one of the cool things that I want to share with people is this thing called fundamental shift coaching that we've put together, which is a group program that is, I'm really excited about it, because what I wanted to do here in the beginning of 2020 is I want to take all of the programs that we have that are incredibly useful and give people access for free to those, like an all access pass, simply by joining this coaching program that we have. I should have thought about how to talk about this, because I actually want to back up for a second. Before that, for absolutely free, what I want people to check out is the Facebook group, right? If you're into Facebook at all, you should come check out our free community, because you were talking about, the community of conscious human beings. We're trying to gather people that at least aspire to being a little bit more conscious, a little bit happier. And that's called the Fundamental Shift Community. It's a group that we have on Facebook. And if you just search for that and find it, we will let you in that group, and it'll be great to have you. And we run challenges. We're offering, there's free coaching in there. There's a ton of value just for being in that group. And then if you want to go further and actually see our programs for very, very affordable, you can go to fundamentalshift.com and check out the program where you actually get live coaching calls every month. You get access to all our programs.
Yeah, the all access pass.
Yeah, that is valuable. So sorry to confuse everybody with the order of talking about that, but I'm really excited about that coaching program. We've got a bunch of really great people in there now. And, we're finding like one important thing to kind of work on for the month, and, setting up the simple little things that give you clarity and focus to be able to accomplish that over a month. And then, along with that, you get to go through all the programs that we have, like Hacking Happy and Recode and Back to Breath and Future Now and all these different things. So super valuable. I hope people decide to check that out.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm both in it, but also I'm kind of participating in the steps of it too, because, another maybe dark belief of mine or not is that I think with the level of complexity that we're in, then we're going to be searching harder for connection.
Yeah. Community.
And we really just, I think an underlying theme across at least the US and the world, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to find our tribe. We're trying to find our people. Mm-hmm. And if all we are finding are people that are living kind of outside their own awareness and in a victim mindset, we're gonna do that because we're gonna want the desire for connection is going to be louder than the desire to kind of manage these things. So if you can, the hack to me there is if you can find people that are also, kind of like loudly trying to be different, trying to manage their thinking and to really truly show up as like more conscious human beings in the world, then you get the connection and you get help with the complexity and you get kind of pushed to be, to be better and to learn new things, and you get to encourage other people. And so there's literally nothing bad about joining the community. Come join the community. It costs nothing. You get to connect. And then also like, what Rob didn't say is you get an all access pass to our programs. You get monthly live coaching, but it's the entire cost of that is less than any single one of our programs.
Right.
This is like so incredibly affordable because another kind of one of our missions, Rob's mission, is to reach as many people as possible. So like we're not.
It's time to up our game.
It is time to up the game.
we really want to share these tools, and I don't want to make it difficult for people. I realize that I've priced out too many people historically. We still do have, in fact, we're going to run our high end group, which is still, it's a lot more expensive than the coaching that we're talking about here, just because it's intense and it's incredibly hard to run and there's so much in it. It's amazing. If you're interested in that, you can go to identityshifting.com and learn more about that there. But the two things that Sarah's talking about, one is the free Facebook community. And to find that, you can go to Fundamental Shift Community on Facebook. Just look for that group. Apply, say, hey, I'd like to join, and we'll let you in there. There's a ton of free resources. That's where the community is. That's amazing. And then if you're interested in the coaching, it's incredibly affordable. And I guess the only reason I don't want to say the price is because I don't know if we're going to change the price, but it's super cheap. Go check it out. Go to fundamentalshift.com.
We'll keep some stuff behind the veil. And check it out.
But you get access to us. You get access. Like we're gonna take care of you. We're gonna really set this up, and you get access to all the programs for less than any of the programs individually cost. To Sarah's point, and you can stop anytime. It's amazing. And I think one other thing I want to say about that community stuff, that is so powerful when you're not surrounded by people. The famous thing that lots of people have heard already is that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? That's an adage that's out there. But the reason that that's true is that our survival instinct is to get along with the people around us, right? So if your tribe has a certain belief structure, let's say they're incredibly lazy and victim mindset, et cetera, right? If you're around people who are addicted or dysfunctional or angry or whatever, you have to meet that, because if you're too different from that, it's hard to be around those people, right? So one of the biggest changes that you can make in personal development is literally just to change your circle of people that you're around. And if you get around people whose only intention, even if they're not even good at it yet, but their intention is, hey, I'd like to be better at running my own mind. Hey, I'd like to be happier. Hey, I'd like to be more productive. And they're open to not only learning about that, but participating in it, and et cetera. Just by being around those people, you are going to shift if you do nothing else. And by the way, we're not building a group of people who are bad at this, because the tools that you get make you really, really good at this, make you cutting edge level, capable of being happy, connected, productive, et cetera. We have a little system on how to pick the goals that you need and how to simplify it down so that you can go, like, I get it. Oh, it's that, right? I get it. And we're handing out breakthroughs on these calls, as often as we can, and it's really fun for us. So please check it out. If you want, we would love to see you in there. And,
well, and I mean, like, to me, obviously this isn't a business goal, but to me, if even one of our listeners finds us a lifeline, because yes to all those things, right? To what the good things about being around people, but it's also like, I don't want to ignore the fact that it can be hard. When we say tribe, often that means family. When we say dysfunction, that could mean friends. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not like a to me, again, speaking of the complexity of the world, it's not always easy to stand up and say, like, this isn't my people. This
Right.
isn't, I am kind of compromising where I want to be because someone I care about deeply is in dysfunction, or someone I care about deeply is in addiction. And so like it's both takes a level of bravery and courage to kind of step out and say, like, I need to look.
Mhm.
And also pulling away from people that are bringing you down, it can feel like rejection, which is like terror. Like
Yeah.
it's like the worst feeling ever.
Yeah.
So like it's the payoff, like really hear those payoffs,
Mhm.
because if this community, even the free side of it, can be a lifeline for someone who's like, man, that's all I see is victimhood, or dysfunction or addiction, or like loud kind of victim signaling, then or identity politics. It's like, come in here. It's a safe place. We're loving,
Yeah.
supportive, and accepting, and let us be your lifeline.
Yeah, and if you say you've got a partner, who's just, it's tough to relate and you're feeling disconnected, let this be your side hustle community that you're just checking out, and see if you like it. You can leave anytime, but I hope you won't. I hope you'll come in and let us really support you. And so I realize this is now a big pitch, and we don't mean to do that. We're just passionate about this, and it's really important. I want you guys to get this stuff. What I love, since we launched this thing just a week ago or 2 weeks ago now, the people that are in it are flying through our programs, and it's so cool to watch them do it. And I know that they're having breakthroughs, and it just makes me feel incredible. So I want to wrap this up back to the hero stuff. You're not a hero. You're not a victim. You are consciousness itself, and you have a chance to be heroic, or you can be, really lonely and lost in poor me. Please, figure out a way, whether you use our technologies and our tools to do it or not, please work on being a little bit more aware of how you're thinking, where your attention is, and what's going on, because you really can be happier, more productive, and probably more heroic across more of your life if you learn some of these tools. So do you have anything else you want to add?
No, that about covers it for
I
me.
love it. Thank you. Please be kind to yourself and everybody else, and we'll talk to you really soon. Bye-bye.